Ahoy there, and welcome back to Build the Boys. You now have issue 94 of Hachette's Build the Titanic. Now, it's not a complete repeat of the last one. It kind of is. We're building another crane. And the last crane was fiddly. But in this one as well, we are also adding some columns to the deck. So we do have fixing points on there. We're going to be adding those too. We're going to put both the cranes, because we didn't do the last one, put both the cranes onto the deck and take a look what that looks like. And that will be the end of our deck work for this month, and certainly for next month as well, because we are going full hull and keel over the next 6. But this will look nice when this is done. Now, again, it is fiddly. It's fiddly, but they did give us our little pliers there to help out. Take your time with this. Don't try and rush it. Don't try and force it, because you end up snapping something. And as fiddly as you may think this is, the rigging of the Titanic, I would imagine, is going to have a lot of us pulling our hair out. So it's probably best you get used to this now, because we are going to be entering into the minutiae. That's what's going to happen. So I think our hull's going to be complete in the next 10. I think the hull is going to be pretty much where it needs to be over the next 10, possibly 12 issues. We're then going to start building this. We're going to start adding our deck to the hull. And then what's going to be left to do over the next, 28 issues is going to be the minute detailing. That's what's going to be. It's going to be the minutiae. We're going to be adding tiny little flags. We're going to be adding the rigging. We're going to have the telegraph wires. That's what we're going to be doing. So a lot of this is going to be very, very, very fiddly little work. So get used to this, because it's not all going to be the great big pieces. We're going to go from massive pieces right down to the tiny little pieces, but that's the way it is. At the end of this, we'll be having our Titanic talk. We'll be talking about an artist that was on board the Titanic. And it's a two-parter. So we'll be talking about the artist in this one. We'll be talking about a link to the artist in the next one. So it's an interesting one, and it is a polarizing one as well. It's one of those subjects that splits people for different reasons. But we'll talk about how and why, and I think it is important to address and discuss it. I do. So we'll be talking about that at the end of this one. So let's take a deep breath. I'm prepared to get fiddly with the next crane. Let's take a look. Okay, so let's have a look what we get in issue 94. I'm expecting more of the same. So we know those are the screws that hold the crane together. Okay, we have 2 envelopes here. Let's flip this inside this one. This should be the wires. I would imagine the wires and the pins. So I'm going to empty these out into the box. Yep. Right, let's make sure everything is out. Yep, 3 wires, 2 pins. So we'll keep those in the box to keep those nice and safe and secure. We'll throw our HP screws in there with those as well. Let's have a look. And this should be all the elements for our crane, but we should also have some wooden looking elements that are going to be going onto the deck. Yeah, and we do. Okay. So here are our crane elements here. Yep. And yep. And there should be a washer. I can't see that anywhere. There should be a washer somewhere. I can't see. There it is. There's the washer. Wow. And then we have these parts here. So these weren't in the last one. These are going to be going onto the deck as well. We've been gluing those to the deck. So these are column supports. So again, we're going to move these over to the box. Keep those nice and safe, because those look very losable. We're going to move our washer over. We're going to move the hook over. I'm going to move this piece over, because we are going to be focused on these pieces to begin with. So let's get into it. Okay, so this is how this is going to go. We're going to take our longer of the 3 wires. It's also the one that's got 2 loops on it. And taking the larger of the loops, that's going to slot over the end like so. And then we're going to take this piece here, and that's going to lock this in, which again is easier said than done, but hopefully. There we go. Slot that there. Push that straight down. and that's where we need to be. Okay, now taking our next piece of crane, we're going to marry these two together. So you can see if you line up the pins like so. There we go. It's a lot easier when you've done one, I'll tell you that. Famous last words. And that's the easy part. So we know that that's the easy part of this crane. This is where the fun begins when we start adding the jib. Right, okay. So taking the jib. I want this like so. And we want that to fit over there like that. This is where the fun begins. Trying to line all this up. But what I did last time, I can show you this time. What I did last time was I started it off because it just seemed easier to find its way. So let's take our longer of the two pins. So what I did was I began the pin off in the hole of the arm. Let's see if we can get this on camera for you. So we've started it off there. Now we're going to thread it over. You should, oh, bloody hell. So fiddly. But again, I mean, look, it's part of it. You do anything 1/200th scale, it's to be expected, you know. There we go, and that's gone through. So we've got that as far as it'll go on its own. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use our little pliers that we got. Just try and don't go mad. Just you want this to help, not hurt. Let's line that up. There we have it. There we have it. Happy with that? Right, so that's the easy part done. Even though that ain't easy. That is the easy part done. Now comes the fun and games of getting the washer and the hook on. This is the hard part. So what we're going to do is, bloody hell with this. Right, so we need our washer and we need our hook. So, hook's going to go on there. The washer goes on there. And then you're going to thread the tiny pin through all three. Now, you're going to have a hell of a job doing that. So what I did was I start the pin. Then when the washer's there, you can put the then you can put the hook onto the pin. Then you can put the washer on. Then you put that on and then push it down through. Now, my hands are just going to be like this doing this. So you're not really going to see what I'm doing. So I'm going to try and get this all lined up and see what we can show you. Okay, so I've managed to get that together. That's where we are. Now, this is the bloody hard part. I find this the trickiest part of all. But we'll, it's literally just this first bit. So you have to get this hook over there. Now, we'll go, but it's just fiddly. That's exactly what it is. So you kind of got to persuade this over here. And you got to get the hook so it's facing inward. Because we're going to hook into the outer edge of the jib. Come on, you bloody thing. It's just a lot of trial and error. It's like you just think it's going to go, then all of a sudden just, nope, slips off. Oh, you bloody thing. Nope, right, I'm going to keep fumbling. Okay, we got it. That's a lot of messing around. So, yeah. So, our ladders are going to go at the back. So you want these at the back so we can do, I mean, it will rotate, but to avoid rotating it as much as we have to, let's move this to the back. Now we're going to put a single one of these HP screws into the base to hold this in place. There we go. So just one screw in there. Yeah, get used to little fiddly things because we're going to do a lot of them. It can't all be massive pieces of hull. So that's that one in, and then we got the rotation. So that's how we want it. Right, so we now have 2 cranes. So now we're going to bring the deck over. We're going to attach these to them. We're also going to put these columns in as well. Okay, so this is the section we're working on. Now these are push to fit. So hopefully I won't get a ton of resistance. I do want a little resistance though, because I want them to be firm. Let's see if we can just like, there we go. So that's that one in. Nice and simple. Now hopefully number 2 is going to behave equally well. Let's just line this up. There we go. And number 2 is going to pop it over here. You're going to put up a fight. You're going to put up a fight. Yeah, the first one in too easy. So this one's saying now, not today, Scott. There we go. There we go. So that's that one in as well. Perfection. Right, now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of these little columns to pop in. Now, they are asking them to glue them, but we'll have a look what the fit's like without the glue, and then we'll make a judgment call on whether or not we're gluing them. So they are just going to fit into these 6 holes along here. Yeah, I think glue. So what I'm going to do is there's 6 holes along here. I'm going to glue these up. I'm going to get these put in, and then we'll take a look. So that is our columns in. You can see how that now looks. We have these columns here. So when this piece of deck goes over, it'll sit over these columns. I have glued them. Make sure that you get them as straight as you can possibly get them if you are gluing them. But it's looking nice. Looking nice. We got these on here. Now this is a while until we touch decking again. Like the next 6 is all hull and keel. So it'll be exciting, but it'll be a while. I mean, we're nearly done with these decks. We gotta be. We need to start putting them together, really. So that's it for that one. Let's have a chat. So that's that one complete, and that is our last bit of decking for a while, because we are very much hull and keel for at least the next 6, I believe. Which I know a lot of you clambering for, and I agree. I think we're at the point now where I want the hull complete so we can start actually building this and putting this together. Which will be good, which will be really good. And we have got the biggest individual piece we've had to date coming up in the next one. It's massive. It's a huge piece of keel, which is going to fill pretty much all the keel spots that I've got on the desk. So all the keel spots that we're missing. That's all for the instructions for this one. If that's all you're staying for, thanks for stopping by. Please remember to like and subscribe. Helps channel massively, and we love having you along for the journey. If you're sticking around for our Titanic talk, we'll be talking about this gentleman here. That is Francis David Millet, a very well-known artist. He was both a painter and a sculptor. Very popular in the late 1800s. And in the early 19s as well. He was a friend of Mark Twain. He painted a portrait of Mark Twain, which is hanging in the National Gallery. He was known. He was very popular. He was married, but at the time of the sinking of the Titanic, he and his wife were estranged. They'd not lived together probably 30 years. They did have 4 children, but again, shortly after the 4th child was born, the couple lived apart. They never divorced and did remain friends, but they didn't live together. Francis David was he was traveling across Europe with a companion when he joined the Titanic in Cherbourg in France. and sadly perished on that night. The last he was seen was helping women and children into their lifeboats. But his legacy does live on, and he really was a magnificent artist. Here are a couple of his paintings. Magnificent, really is. Now, there is another part to this story, but we can't discuss this fully without discussing the other person in the story who Francis David Millet was traveling with. And we're going to discuss that person in the next one. This is polarizing, so this is a strange thing. This tale upsets some people when you look at what was really going on. But I don't know why. I'm not entirely sure why. But I think it's important that we discuss it. I do. So we will be discussing it, and we'll be discussing it in the next one. That's all from me. We'll be back very soon with a massive piece of keel to go into our hull, which should firm this up nicely. I look forward to it. In a world where you can be anything at all, just be nice. If you haven't, please remember to like and subscribe. Helps the channel massively. We love having you along for the journey. And we are about to start our final year. We will be finishing October of next year of this one, which is crazy. It's I've been doing 2 years now, but we have been. Tune in. We will be back very, very soon for Keel section in issue 95. Take care, and I'll see you very soon.